Hello, my name is Rob, and you're listening to Environmental Soup through the facilities of Trent Radio. Today, I will talk about two pieces of legislation which have, or which could, damage environmental law or weaken environmental legislation in Ontario. Specifically, clean water legislation and species at risk legislation. Bills 56 and 60. In addition, I will have a brief message about not throwing away pumpkins because it is Halloween when this episode broadcasts. So I will switch to the pre-recorded message about pumpkins. And I will switch my screen. So, this is just because it's Halloween. Don't throw away your pumpkins in nature this Halloween. This is advice from the Nature Conservatory of Canada. Wildlife can be negatively impacted because when they congregate, they can transmit diseases, and this is an unnatural source of food for wildlife. As well, they can be killed by vehicles. So, hopefully, you instead can compost your jack-o'-lanterns or contact wildlife centers or zoos, etc. Don't throw away your pumpkins in nature this Halloween. That was the message about not throwing away pumpkins. And because wildlife are targeted in new legislation, new bills, it's more important to not throw away pumpkins on the side of the road. And I'll get into some of the changes that was made. But there are several issues that should be talked about. One of them is on transit. This is an article from, or news release from Environmental Defense called Bill 60 could jeopardize transit expansion and lower cost homes. And Environmental Defense is saying that the legislation called Fighting Delays Building Faster Act 20 it says 2005, I think it should say 2025, would empower the Minister of Transportation to prohibit dedicated bus rapid transit lanes on existing residential streets, while the amended Highway Traffic Act would directly ban the conversion of motor vehicle lanes to protected cycling lanes. It would also ban conversions for any other prescribed purpose. So it would mean longer commutes for people who use public transit and more reliance on single occupancy vehicles. And the press release says banning surface bus lanes would also jeopardize many of the hundreds of thousands of mid-rise and full-plex apartments recently pre-approved by municipalities like Toronto and Hamilton. And then it's saying that a lot of places will not be viable unless they are permitted to provide frequent, reliable bus services and not after decades of construction. And it's saying Bill 60 Schedule 10 would also enable the minister to approve municipal zoning and official plan amendments even where they would scuttle other more productive housing plans or would violate Ontario's remaining provincial land use planning policies. I did a video a while back. I'll see if I can find it on induced demand, and I believe that this is a huge environmental issue. Banning rapid transit lanes that remove vehicle lanes would increase fossil fuel use. Then there's another article called in the Narwhal newspaper by Carl Mail, called "Ford Government Wants More Power Over Ontario's Drinking Water." And it's saying that the Ministry of Red Tape Reduction is talking about rules around drinking water being overly complex and slow. There's a reason why there's regulation around drinking water, being that it prevents situations such as Rockerton, Ontario, the disaster that happened there. Let's see. Teresa McClagan, Executive Director of the Canadian Environmental Law Association, said it indicated that if the government wanted to beef up local water protections, some tweaks to the process could be useful, and added, without more details from the government clarifying how we use the powers, it could open the door to weaker public health protections down the road. The Ontario Green Party leader, Mike Schreiner, said the changes amount to reducing the power of independent evidence-based experts and transferring that authority to the minister. And he talked about having redundancies in air traffic control and the importance of having other checks and balances, because putting once you contaminate drinking water, you put people's lives at risk, not that was a quote. Oh, I'm just gonna have to pause. So, I am back. Let's see. Where I was in the article. Yes, those. The article talks about Bill 56 and changes to the Clean Water Act, and points out that the progressive conservative government under Mike Harris cut funding to the environmental ministry, and that was one of the reasons for the Walkerton tragedy. And the government is wanting to centralize water protection plans. And then it'll take away, like, the province could block specific strategies at protecting water, which is very concerning. And then I don't think I highlighted anything else. Yeah, and then combined with the municipal zoning orders, there's also a concern. Let's see, what did I put here? I put like the those and those a page just about source water protection. So Bill 60, I'm into Bill 60 now. It's called an act to amend various acts and to enact the Water and Wastewater Public Corporations Act 2025. You may have heard about this bill because of controversy around changes to the Tenants Act. There was Building Transit Faster Act in Schedule 1, and it makes changes to the Building Transit Faster Act 2020 to make sections 14, 17, 19, and 36 a notice period from 30 to 15 days. And it will broaden the areas where Metrolinx may be determined a municipal service or right-of-way access is required. So I know people live busy lives, and 30 days is important to have in consultations to provide proper public input. You often need at least 30 days, if not, depending on the circumstance, you might need something more like 45 days or even 60 days, depending on the complexity of what is being proposed. But 15 days is not adequate time, in my opinion. And then, did I highlight anything else? Oh, those changes to the Water Resources Act. Oh, the Municipal Act changes are being made. Transfer of jurisdiction over water and sewage public utilities from the regional municipality of Peel to the city of Mississauga, city of Brampton, and the town of Carleton. And let's see. Yes, there is a lot that I have to go through. And then I'm not okay. Amends. Oh, the schedule. The Toronto Waterfront Revitalization Corporation amends timelines. So, and then those like additional details. And then let's see, what did I put in this? This I looked at the Building Transit Fast Act 2020 and saw that they had 30 days and now it's going to be 15 days. I think that was the same with the Construction Act. I don't know if I highlighted anything in this. Oh, that's just a blank page. Oh, I did try to look at some of the orders of the day. I didn't come across anything in the committees. There is some positive. Oh, potentially. Oh, sorry. Hopefully, I can find that. There is some potentially positive development. Those Ontario soil regulation amendments to reduce restrictions and increase beneficial reuse, and this is in the Environment Journal, October 27th, 2025. So soil can be reused, but I do have concerns about some of the changes with record of site condition, regarding allowing commercial to be changed to residential, because there is residential is more sensitive use, and the soil is there's contamination in soil is there's less contamination allowed in residential soil compared to commercial soil, and there's some changes around record of site conditions for going from commercial property to residential, and prohibiting a record of site condition in the Environmental Site Registry if it's not required by the Environmental Protection Act. And then those expanded exemptions from record of site condition requirements for existing commercial or community use buildings. Yeah, that's what I have an issue with, simply because of the soil testing requirements. There was a table and that identifies what can be in a industrial, commercial, or residential property. But I can see like some reuse potential of aggregate soil depending on what the aggregate is. So those console now. And let's see. Schedule 11 of Bill 56, which is an act to amend various acts. This is one where I'm very concerned about. There's the Clean Water Act changes. And they're changing it subject to regulations made by the minister where an activity engaged. Section 22 of the Act is amended by adding subsection 8.1. Which is subject to regulations made by the minister where an activity engaged in at a particular location is identified in an assessment report as significant drinking water threat. The source protection plan shall not, for the purposes of satisfying paragraph 2 of subsection 22.2, include any policy in respect of a decision described in subsection 42.1, except one of the policies set out in the paragraph of this new subsection, and it must be prescribed by the minister. So they're taking away export advice and regulations. The power away from exports to make regulations. There's some Highway Traffic Act changes. Species Conservation Act 2025. So those changes, and then the purpose of the act is to protect species at risk. I'll have to see if the original changes, original legislation included that purpose. And then they said definition of section 16 activity is amended to be part of a living or dead member of a species. And subsection 16.4 is amended to address species that were listed as extirpated, endangered, or threatened on the Species at Risk Ontario list under the Endangered Species Act. And then Schedule 11 is very concerning. It says the Crown Forestry Sustainability Act 1994 is amended to provide that prohibition in Section 16 of the Species Conservation Act 2025 does not apply to certain forest operations, and no orders under Section 36, 37, or 38 of the Species Conservation Act 2025 shall be issued in respect to such operations. And then the definition of species at risk is also updated. So what this means is that the government of Ontario will allow some species to be killed, homed, or or they could be they could allow some species that live in forest to become extinct. I looked at what sections 36, 37, and 38 all. And is this the... yeah, so the orders... 36... what was it? 36, 37... maybe it is 37. So habitat protection order cannot be made. And then it says the minister may issue an order described in subsection 2 in either of the following circumstances. So 2, a species not listed on the protected species in Ontario list is classified in a report submitted under section 12 or 13 as extirpated, endangered, or threatened, and the minister has reasonable grounds to believe that a person is engaging in or about to engage in an activity that results or is likely to result in damage to or destruction of the species habitat. Or 1, a regulation is made under clause 65(1)(b), and the minister has reasonable grounds to believe that a person is engaging or is about to engage in activity that results or is likely to result in damage or destruction to an area that would otherwise be habitat for the species. So this is why I believe that the government is causing harm. Could cause some species to become extinct in Ontario if they live in forest that are harvested. And I looked at the Crown Forest Sustainability Act and looked at species at risk, and then it got changed. I don't know if I highlighted anything else in that act. Yeah, so that's everything that I had today. But I will continue looking at this. I will add, as I go through these two pieces of legislation, Bill 60 and 56, I will add to my Substack and create new videos as they want. And I will also look at committees. I didn't come across any committees that are coming up. There is action still going on regarding Bill 5. And there were some events happening regarding that. There's the gala coming up at Queen's University. I'm just going to pull up the date. I don't have it. But if you look up Queen's backing action on climate. On the climate crisis, you can find it. Yeah, that's probably the best way. And I hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, yeah, there's several items, but I will end this show for now, and I might expand have additional videos on these pieces of legislation.